Local businesses will soon be able to conduct business a bit easier in the foreign market, essentially saving money and ultimately increasing profits. Big chain businesses like SuperValue, AML Foods Limited, and Kelly's all require foreign credit to conduct business transactions overseas. You see, what normally happens is that these big businesses have to be approved on a credit basis in order to do business internationally. This calls for them either wiring money through the central bank at a fee or getting approval on an international credit basis. But the government has moved to make things a bit easier.
After consultation with the central bank and discussion with the cabinet, I wish to announce the relaxation of exchange controls on capital transactions, namely on capital investment and current account trade transactions. These changes should come into effect as of the 1st of February 2018.
And here's how all this will impact local businesses.
If you have money abroad now, you can bring that money back home, deposit it in Bahamian banks here, maintain that foreign currency. That will have an impact on your foreign reserves. That's foreign reserves coming home. What also happens is Bahamians generally like to touch, feel, and see their money. Their monies would now be under the jurisdiction and the legal profile of the Bahamian authority as opposed to foreign jurisdiction that you have no control of. Not only that, in terms of purchasing, you can purchase without having the bureaucracy of any delay in central bank. You have the money available to you and you can utilize it.
Upping the country's game in the ease of doing business is crucial, this especially considering the Bahamas this year moved just 2 spots on the World Bank's rankings on the ease of doing business, from 121st position to 119 out of 190 nations. In other news this evening, countless plane trips and tens of thousands of dollars pumped into getting illegals back home this year as the clock ticks on that December 31st deadline imposed by the government earlier this year. Our Jillian Gray has the details in this report.
We've still got another 11 days to go before the new year rolls in, but so far between 5,000 and 7,000 illegals of all nationalities have been repatriated. And according to the man on the ground, commanding officer in charge of the Immigration Enforcement Unit, Kirkland Neely, that number is expected to shoot up before the 31st.
I said, we will have more repatriation before the year because it depends on boats. And how many people we pick up from here, and how many people from the family and secret family are not to send me people to, you see? If they come, then I have to try to keep the safe house down to a minimum so that if influx by boat come, we'll have spaces there for them, you see? Say before, you have Freeport, you have Abaco, you have Inago, you have Exum, all those islands send me people, you see, and I have all of them out on the lookout for what's going on.
Now, sending illegals back home comes with a pretty hefty price to taxpayers.
Haitian flight is like 40-45 per flight, and the Cubans but 30. Depends on how many Cubans going, because you got the charter flight. The Cubans, but now that the Cubans slow down, we could purchase on Bahamas there, regular flight. But prior to that, we had to charter flights going to Cuba. Ball figure over $1 million per year.
The government has come under much scrutiny by local and international rights organizations for the treatment of detainees, as well as what some say is its harsh immigration policy. Organizations like Amnesty International have even called for the government to urgently share a written human rights-based migration policy that uses detention only as a measure of last resort, and update the screening processes to avoid the expulsion of individuals born in the Bahamas with a right to Bahamian nationality. For JCN News, I'm Jillian Gray.
The Supreme Court has meantime freed and granted bail to 8 adults and 3 children who had been detained at the Kamaica Road Detention Center. They, along with 4 people, were released unconditionally last week, bringing the total number of people freed this month to 15. The group's legal team, Queen's Counsels Fred Smith and Damian Gomez, argued that their clients had all been detained unlawfully and that there is no law requiring people to prove they have status or produce documents on demand. Now, along with the bail requirements, the 15 are required to check into the Department of Immigration every Wednesday. Additional marijuana fields uncovered in Andros. The question now is, who's doing the planting? From all reports, a team of DEU and DEA officers headed back to an area near Owenstown, Andros Monday morning and found 3 marijuana fields. An estimated 4,000 marijuana plants were uprooted. Earlier this month, officers uncovered 10,300 marijuana plants from 2 fields in the same area. No arrests were made in this latest discovery. Investigations are ongoing. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news was brought to you by Alive.